everyone, myself Karima. I'm a student of BPT first year, and today the topic that I'm going to explain is the endocrine system. The endocrine system. The topics that I'm going to cover today is the endocrine system, hormones, pituitary gland, the thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, the testes and the ovaries. Now, what is the endocrine system? The endocrine system is a chemical messenger system in our body that consists of hormones that are released by our endocrine glands directly into the bloodstream because they don't have ducts and they regulate the distant target organs. Obviously, the over secretion and the under secretion of any by any of the gland that can lead to various diseases, which includes diabetes mellitus, the thyroid diseases, obesity, and the other endocrine diseases are the Addison's disease, Cushing's disease, Graves' disease. These diseases are a result of basically misregulated hormone release or inappropriate, that is over or under secretion of any by any of the gland, or the structural enlargement in normal size of the gland. For example, goiter. Goiter is the result of inflammation of the thyroid gland, and the next reason for the dysfunction is the inappropriate response to signaling. Next will come to the hormones. Hormones are basically the secretory products of these endocrine glands that are released directly into the circulation. These are basically ductless glands. These hormones are released in small amounts in response to a particular stimulus, and on delivery in circulation they act on their target cells. Now, how do they act on their target cells? Their target organs or cells, they have receptors. Receptors have binding sites on them for their specific hormones. The next characteristic of hormones is that they are highly specific in nature. They do not initiate a reaction but can take care of that whether the reaction will take place at a faster or a slower rate. The next is they have longer latent period than associated with neurons following their stimulation. That is, if we apply the injection of oxytocin, the milk ejection occurs in few minutes, while the application of stimulus to a nerve, the muscle contracts within a few milliseconds. Now, these hormones interact with their target cells in three ways. First way is the synergism. This is when two hormones interact at their target cells such that the combination produces a much greater result than their additive. Next is the permissiveness. Permissiveness is when one hormone cannot fully exert its effect unless and until the second hormone is present. For example, if alone thyroid hormone will be present, there will be no development of the reproductive system. Whereas only reproductive hormone will be present, there will be delayed development of reproductive system. But if both the hormones are present together, there will be normal development of the reproductive system. This was the permissiveness. Third is the antagonism. Antagonism means something opposite to each other. Two hormones are said to be antagonistic to each other if they have different physiological functions. For example, the growth hormone and the glucagon, they are both antagonistic to the hormone insulin. Now we'll discuss about our first gland, that is the pituitary gland. Pituitary gland, also known as the master gland of the body. It is present in a bony cavity of the sphenoid bone in the skull. This cavity is called the sella turcica. The pituitary gland is small, pear-shaped and red-grey in color and is connected to the hypothalamus via a stalk-like structure called infundibulum. Hypothalamus is known as the master of master glands. That is, it is at a more higher position than the pituitary gland. The hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, they together form the most influential endocrine system of the body. Now we'll come to the two lobes of the pituitary gland. First is the adenohypophysis, known as the anterior lobe, and the neurohypophysis, known as the posterior lobe. We can easily detect in this picture the stem, that is the infundibulum, connecting the pituitary to the hypothalamus, the posterior, anterior and the intermediate lobe of the pituitary gland. And the picture marked as A is the hypothalamus, and the lower picture is of the pituitary gland. Now next we'll talk about the hormones released by these lobes. The anterior lobe releases TSH, ACTH, growth hormone, FSH, luteinizing hormone, prolactin and beta lipotropin. The posterior lobe releases ADH, that is antidiuretic hormone, also known as vasopressin, and second hormone is the oxytocin. The third lobe is the intermediate lobe, that secretes the hormone MSH. The first is the growth hormone. Growth hormone is the somatotrophic hormone. The normal growth hormone output in adults is lower than in the children because, of course, the children has their skeletal growth yet to take place. The growth hormone secretion is controlled by two hypothalamic hormones. First is the GHRH, the growth hormone releasing hormone that stimulates the release of growth hormone from the pituitary, and the GHIH, that is the growth hormone inhibiting hormone that inhibits the release of growth hormone. Now, what are the functions of this growth hormone? As the name suggests, growth hormone, so it stimulates the growth of bone, cartilage and the connective tissue, and it also requires thyroid hormone along with it to exert its full effect. Next is condition before epiphyseal closure. During this, the growth hormone along with the somatomedin is another growth factor. The growth hormone stimulates proliferation, that is division of the cartilage cells called chondrocytes, appearance of osteoblasts, that is the bone cells, and the incorporation of sulfates into cartilage, and also the collagen formation in the cartilage. This results in the thickness of epiphyseal plate that accounts for the increase in linear skeletal growth. Next action of growth hormone is the effect on protein and mineral metabolism. In protein metabolism, it helps in the ribosomal attachment or translation. Second is it increases the transport of amino acids from the extracellular fluid into the cells. And third is it also stimulates the erythropoiesis, that is the formation of red blood cells. Further few actions of the growth hormone apart from this. It also has effects on fat and carbohydrate metabolism. That is, it has a diabetogenic effect because it produces hyperglycemia, means increase in the level of glucose in bloodstream by increasing the hepatic glucose output. And it also has a catabolic effect on fat because it increases the mobilization of fats from the adipose tissue. Now next is the applied aspects, that is over and under secretion of growth hormone can lead to various disorders. The first disorder is the dwarfism. It is due to the undersecretion of growth hormone before puberty, that is during the growth period when the growth hormone is not sufficiently released, that leads to dwarfism. The symptom of this disease are stunt growth and reduced development of skeleton, and this is also termed as ateliosis. The second disease is the gigantism, that is during the growth period when there is oversecretion of growth hormone. This also takes place before puberty, and the person has a very tall stature and can be as tall as 8 feet. The third symptom is the bilateral gynecomastia, that is the development of breast in males, and this is due to the increase in plasma estrogen to androgen ratio in males. The person also has very large hands and feet. We can easily identify in this picture the normal hand and the large hand. Now next is the acromegaly. Acromegaly is due to the oversecretion of growth hormone during adulthood, that is after epiphyseal closure. The growth is still taking place. The growth hormone is still acting on the areas where cartilage is persisting. The first symptom of this disease is prognathism, that is the elongation and widening of mandible. We can easily make out in this picture. Third is the acromegalic facies, that is thickening of the skin. We can easily identify the normal hand and the thickened hand, that is the acromegalic hand. Next is the gynecomastia, increase in adrenal size and hypertrophy of soft tissues. Hypertrophy means the increase in muscular size. If it takes place in the heart, that is termed as cardiomegaly. If it takes place in the liver, that is termed as hepatomegaly. In spleen, it is known as splenomegaly. In kidney, if it takes place, it is termed as renomegaly, and other organs like intestine, tongue and other muscles. The other hormones released by anterior pituitary are the prolactin, also known as the lactogenic hormone, and it helps in the development of mammary glands and milk synthesis. Normal levels in females is 6 to 50 Ng per ml plasma, and in males it is 6 to 25 Ng per ml plasma. This prolactin is also important for the differentiation of lobules of alveoli during pregnancy, so that milk ejection can take place easily. The next hormone is the thyroid stimulating hormone. We can easily identify from the name it has something related to thyroid gland. So it helps in the growth of thyroid gland and stimulates the synthesis and secretion of thyroid hormone. The next hormone is the ACTH. The ACTH is adrenocorticotrophic hormone that controls the structure and function of adrenal cortex, and it also stimulates and synthesizes the secretion of steroid hormones and mainly the glucocorticoids from the adrenal cortex. The next hormones are the gonadotrophic hormones. First is FSH, that is follicle stimulating hormone, something related to development of follicles. So in males it helps in the spermatogenesis regulation, that is formation of sperms, and in females it helps in the growth and development of the follicles and also the secretion of estrogen hormone regulation. The next gonadotrophic hormone is the LH, that is luteinizing hormone. In males, it stimulates the Leydig cells for the secretion of androgen, and in females, it leads to the ovulation of Graafian follicles and also helps in the maintenance of corpus luteum. The next lobe is the posterior lobe. Posterior lobe of pituitary gland, it secretes two hormones. First is the oxytocin. Oxytocin, it helps in the contraction of smooth muscle cells that line the duct of mammary gland and helps in milk ejection from the lactating breast. It also helps in the contraction of smooth muscles of the uterus, that is myometrium, and helps during pregnancy, that is easy delivery of the baby. The next is if the oxytocin levels are increased in the blood, this helps in the relaxation of blood vessels, eventually leading down to lowering of BP. In males, during ejaculation, it facilitates the transport of sperms, causing contraction of smooth muscles of vas deferens, and in addition to it, adding the seminal fluid to the sperms. Next is it plays an important role in the social behavior, intimacy, and feeling of sexual pleasure during and after the intercourse. That is why it is also known as the love hormone. The next hormone that comes is the ADH, that is antidiuretic hormone. It acts on the kidney and increases the water reabsorption and electrolyte reabsorption up to 12% from the DCT and the collecting tubule. The next function of this ADH is that it reduces the water loss from the body, that is diuresis. That's why this hormone is known as the antidiuretic hormone. Next we'll come to our another gland, that is the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is the largest gland of the body and it is butterfly shaped. It is located at the back of the trachea and it has two lobes connected to each other by the isthmus. It is composed of follicles which contains follicular cells and which in turn contains a clear pink colored gelatinous material called the colloid. That colloid name is thyroglobin that contains iodine. The follicular cells present in the follicles, they synthesize two hormones, the T4 and T3. T4 is the thyroxine or tetraiodothyronin, T3 is triiodothyronin. In between these thyroid follicles, there are some other cells called C cells or parafollicular cells which release hormone named as calcitonin or named as TCT, that is thyrocalcitonin. Now we'll discuss about the functions of the thyroid hormone. Mainly thyroxine. It helps in the metabolism of fats, carbs, proteins and hence regulate the growth of body tissues that we discussed with the growth hormone. And these hormones also play an important role in regulation of BMR, that is basal metabolic rate, and they enhance the heat production. Increasing the metabolic rate of the body and maintaining the BMR. Next is they stimulate the tissue differentiation. This is the reason they promote metamorphosis of tadpoles into adult frogs. Next function is they enhance the action of some neurotransmitters that like adrenaline and noradrenaline. The fifth function is the maintenance of water and electrolyte balance. They also support erythropoiesis and development of CNS. The applied aspect of this hormone is the enlargement of thyroid gland leads to goiter, and the agents that cause goiter, they are known as goitrogens that lead to the synthesis of endogenous TSH, and these goitrogens is iodine deficiency. Goiter is caused due to iodine deficiency or maybe the presence of excess iodide, and there are many other factors. In this picture, we can easily see the swelled thyroid gland, the inflammation of thyroid gland leading to goiter. Next is the hypothyroidism, means the reduced release of T4 and T3 from the thyroid gland. It occurs in two forms. First is the myxedema, second is cretinism. Myxedema is basically the hypothyroidism in adults that leads to this disease, and The symptom of this disease is goiter, that is inflammation of the thyroid gland. And next symptom is the puffiness of face with the periorbital swelling. That means the lower part of the eyes, the orbits of the eye, they get swelled up and the face is puffy. The next symptom is the loss of scalp hair, ptosis. Ptosis is basically the drooping of upper eyelid. The patient suffering from this disease has dry, thickened, rough and yellow skin. And the other physiological symptoms are, as the thyroid gland maintains the BMR, so the low secretion of this will lead to low BMR, hypersensitivity to cold, low voltage ECG and memory loss. The next disease is the cretinism. Cretinism is basically the hypothyroidism in children. The children who are hypothyroid from birth, they are called cretins. This disease is caused in children when the mother is not able to maintain the iodine level in the children. And the symptoms related to these diseases are gross retardation and reduced mental development, because this hormone is responsible for the development of CNS. Next is the dwarfism, stunt growth, and there is no proper development of skeletal and muscular system. Children suffering from this disease, they have a protruded abdomen and a large protruded tongue. We can easily make out in this picture the child is having a very large protruded tongue. And the next symptom of this disease is the failure of sexual development. So these were some of the diseases related to thyroid gland. The next is the exothelmic goiter or hyperthyroidism, also known as the Graves' disease. Hyperthyroidism means there is excessive secretion of the thyroid hormone and the thyroid gland becomes overactive. That will lead to high metabolic rate, rapid heart rate, nervousness, irritability, and this disease occurs more in females. This disease is basically an autoimmune disorder in which a person produces antibodies against his own body that try to mimic the action of TSH, but they are not under the control of normal negative feedback mechanisms. The next gland is the parathyroid gland. The parathyroid gland are basically the glands that are present on the backside of the thyroid gland, and there are two pairs of thyroid gland and one pair is located on backside of each thyroid gland. They are functionally and developmentally independent from thyroid gland. They have different functions from the thyroid gland. The hormone they release is the parathormone, and along with the TCT, that is calcitonin, they maintain the calcium level in the blood. And they are also known as the hypercalcemic hormone. Hypercalcemic means they increase the blood calcium levels, that is, they increase the calcium level in the blood. This is the picture of the thyroid gland and the parathyroid gland. The parathyroid glands are these small yellow ones and the thyroid gland is the large one. Next we'll come to the applied aspects of parathyroid gland. First is hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism means hypoparathyroidism. Hypoparathyroidism means the low secretion of parathyroid hormone, and this leads to parathyroid tetany. The parathyroid tetany means when the insufficient amount of hormone is released, that leads to hypoparathyroidism. The calcium levels in the blood decrease abnormally, and that results in the excitability of nerves and muscles due to deficiency of calcium ions and causing the depolarization of these muscles without any stimulus. That will lead to tetany of muscles of face, larynx, hand and feet. Tetany is basically the uncontrolled contraction of muscles. Next is the this is also known as parathyroid tetany. They can also develop due to the accidental damage to parathyroid gland or the damage to their blood supply during the triiodotectomy surgery. Next is the hyperparathyroidism. This is basically the excessive release of parathormone that leads to this disease, and during this disease there is increased mobilization of calcium, that the calcium levels in the blood increases, that leads to softening of bones, and there is rise in concentration of calcium on kidney tubules that can easily lead to kidney stones and can also interfere with how your heart and brain will work. Next is the testes. Testes, they are basically located in the scrotal sac outside the abdominal cavity. It is a primary sex organ but also acts as an endocrine gland. It is composed of seminiferous tubules, interstitial or stromal tissue. These seminiferous tubules helps in the formation of sperms, while the interstitial cells, also known as the Leydig cells, they produce androgens. They are the male hormones. The functions of these testes is they regulate the development, the maturation and functions of male accessory organs like the epididymis, vas deferens, etc. And they also regulate the proper development. They ensure the proper development of the external genitalia in males before birth. They also stimulate muscle growth in males, and they also stimulate the growth of secondary sexual characteristics in males, such as growth of axillary hair, growth of pubic hair, the low pitched voice and aggressiveness. That are the secondary sexual characteristics in males, and many more. They act on the CNS and influence the male sexual behavior. They also stimulate spermatogenesis, that is the formation of sperms. Next are the disorders. First disorder of this testes is the leucoidism. Leucoidism is basically due to the failure of testosterone secretion. Due to this disease, there is failure in development of secondary sex organs which are small in size and do not function properly. These other disease is the gynecomastia, that is the development of breasts in males that we have already discussed earlier. Next is the ovary. Ovary is basically the primary sex organ and or the endocrine gland in the females. It has the ovarian follicle and a corpus luteum that secretes hormones. The ovarian follicle secretes estrogen that maintains the female sexual characters and also regulate the menstrual cycle, along with FSH and LH, that is the gonadotrophic hormones, and the corpus luteum that secrete progesterone and estrogen that stimulate the uterine lining for embryo implantation and also prepare the mammary glands for lactation, and they also helps in the regulation of oogenesis, that is the formation of ova or eggs in females from birth. So these were some of the glands that I discussed in my topic. I hope you all liked it, and thank you so much.